you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years, Raymond Moore
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. He is Pierre McGuire. I am Jimmy Murphy. Pierre, how are you today, my friend?
Very good. Not as good as Quinn Hughes, though. Before the show gets going, I want to acknowledge what Quinn has accomplished. Not enough is being made of this. You know, in their win last night, 5-1 over Anaheim, Quinn had 3 assists. That got him to 300. He's the third fastest player to 300 assists. Bobby Orr's 1, Brian Leetch is 2, Quinn Hughes is 3. That's an amazing accomplishment.
That
for
is.
defensemen.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And one of the reasons I am bringing it up is because one of Brian Leetch's coach, his Stanley Cup winning coach, Mike Keenan, is going to be joining us today. But Jimmy, this is an amazing accomplishment. You know, and one of Mike Keenan's players, Rick Tocchet, is actually coaching Quinn Hughes right now. And so it all ties into a nice little bow. And I loved Rick's comments from last night after the game. I thought they were great. I felt bad for our buddy, Greg Cronin, the coach in Anaheim, but he even said, look, they're a good team. Vancouver, and you know what? Vancouver is a good team.
They are.
They're a good team. They're starting to find out where they need to be.
Yeah, when they play to their identity, when they play to their potential, Pierre, they are a legit Stanley Cup contender. It is what it is. And when they get Demko back, if he can stay healthy, they're probably going to stay that way, and it won't have as many ups and downs. But as you mentioned, really excited. We're going to be talking to Mike Keenan, legendary NHL head coach, Stanley Cup champion, of course, with the New York Rangers in 1994. We will, of course, discuss that. But the main focus of our conversation with Mike will be one of his former players, Jeremy Roenick. Will be going into the Hockey Hall of Fame this weekend, or next Monday to be exact. And, of course, you were part of the committee there that voted him in, Pierre. And look, I remember, Pierre, growing up as a kid in Boston. Jeremy Roenick was one of the first stars, so to speak, that I knew about in my days. This is 1992, so I'm probably like a sophomore, junior in high school, 91, 92, around those years. And he's starting to really blossom. And, he was a rock star, Pierre. And I know you're not from the video game era, but anybody my age or maybe a little younger will tell you, Pierre, when you use Jeremy Roenick in NHL 93 or 90, it was like a sure goal. You just wrap him around the net, and he did the wraparound, boom. And that's how he was in real life, though. I mean, the moves this guy had. I just want to know, Pierre, for you, and we'll get into this more with Mike, because I do want to touch on a couple subjects before we have him on. But for you, what was it like trying to game plan against a player like that?
Well, he played on an amazing line. Mike set up with Daryl Sutter. They set up an amazing line. It was Michel Goulet, Jeremy Roenick, and Stevie Larmer. And that year, 91, 92, that was the best line in the NHL. And trust me, we had really good teams in Pittsburgh, from 90 to 92, even 93. We had really good teams. And Mario, whatever line he was on, he was driving it. But I don't know if we had the same consistency offensively as Goulet, Larmer, and Roenick had. So it was really complicated in terms of how we created our game plan, how we mix and match, because Mike was a really good coach on the road. He could get his star players away from checkers. So we had a different philosophy. I was running the defense. Scotty was running the forwards. So we'd always have a particular matchup that we wanted against Goulet, Larmer, and Roenick. And that's how we played it. We played it that way the entire series. We won in 4, but it wasn't easy. Jeremy was great. I'm going to tell you how far back I go with Jeremy. I had Jeremy and Tony Amonte and Keith Kachuk and Billy Guerin and all these great Bobby Kellogg, all these amazing prodigies in Massachusetts that were byproducts of the 1980 Olympic blow-up. Well they were. I had them all in hockey camp from probably 86 to 88 and 89 even.
Wow.
And this was a thing called Europa Cup, and it was unbelievable, Jimmy, how good the games were. Guys like Sean McEachran, Ian Moran, all guys that played in the NHL, Garth Snow. You can look at the rosters of the players that were there at the time, David Emma, Stephen Hines. And I'm just going off the top of my head. Now, this is almost 40 years ago. But I'm telling you, that's how good this was. And I had the privilege of working for the late Dick Flood and Steve Sterling, who owned the camp. And it was a phenomenal place to watch young players grow. And I know Chicago sent scouts in to watch Jeremy. They took him 8th overall.
Yeah.
People forget that. Jeremy was 8th overall in 1988. How many prep school players were going in the first round? I mean, I know Tommy Barrasso went in the first round to Buffalo.
Yeah.
So that was, he was a goalie. That's different.
Oh,
But
yeah.
there weren't a lot of prep school guys going in the first round, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing him play when, Thayer would come to St. Sebastian's Pierre in the old rink at St. Sibs there, and the place would just be mobbed just to see him. It was just, they were just there to see him and Amonte. And people don't realize, I don't know, a lot of people outside of Boston maybe don't realize that those guys, Amonte and Roenick, were line mates in prep school. I
They
mean,
were not just in prep school, they were in the pros too.
pros too. I mean, it's amazing the history they have and sort of the chemistry, obviously, that formed over those years. They were a great duo, but you brought it up there, though, man. Seeing Goo play with Roenick was that was a delight to see.
Yeah, no, I talked to Michelle this morning. Want to tell him and his family we're thinking his dog is very sick, so we're thinking about his dog right now. I'm
Thinking of you, Goo.
real tight attachment with his animal, and I feel real bad when I heard about that. I hope I'm going to see him at the Hall of Fame weekend up in Toronto this weekend. I know Mike's going. Mike Keenan's going.
Yep.
Colin Campbell, who was his assistant on the 94 team, is being inducted. Not just Jeremy, but Coley as well. So I know he'll be up there for that. But no, you know what? You talk about Jeremy. Here's what I remember. He was tough as all get out. His skill level was insane. People don't realize he was fast, Jimmy.
He
He
was
was
so
really
fast.
fast.
That's what I remember.
People forget, like, he was robust. He was a nasty piece of business. He was a tough kid.
Right. So you combine that with that speed, it's like
Yeah, no. People forget that about Jeremy because all they remember the slick plays, and he did make some beautiful plays. But he was a nasty piece of business on the ice. He really was.
all right. Well, quickly before we get to Coach Keenan in a bit, some big news today. Pierre, Connor McDavid will return for the Edmonton Oilers tonight against the Vegas Golden Knights. Obviously, a very big game for both teams.
Yeah.
Are you surprised he's back that soon?
So this is another lesson for everybody that's in the media and everybody that's a fan. Do not trust teams and do not trust injury reports.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he went down? I broke down their schedule. I said, here's how much he's going to miss. Here how many games he's going to miss.
About 10, right?
Yeah. We have 10 games out.
Yep. And boom, here he is.
Boom, he's back. Magic.
Yeah,
Do
imagine
not
that.
believe any report you get ever
Especially-
about medical. Never.
Especially in the playoffs. I'll never forget Claude Julien telling me a player, I forget who the player was, but he said general soreness. That's what he has, Jamie.
Well, he must have learned that from Lou Lamoriello because Gordon and I were once there to do a Devils playoff game, Gordon Miller and I. And I remember we asked Lou, and he goes, "You guys know I'm not going to tell you about injuries." And, we had a very good relationship with Coach Lamoriello. And Gordon goes, "Well, can you give me a little hint?" He goes, "Yeah, overall body soreness."
So he totally stole it from him then.
So Claude must have got that from Lou.
Yeah. And Pierre,
Overall body soreness.
last night, a lot of great games, but one thing, obviously, we were going back and forth about. Thank God for Dylan Holloway that he's okay. Very scary incident there with the St. Louis Blues. He continued to play. It looked like he's fine, and then he gets to the bench, and all of a sudden you see him going off on a stretcher. It did not look good, but I'm glad he's okay. His family actually was at the game, so it's good that they were able to be with him. But that was scary. And when I first saw that video,
When I got the text, I was texting with somebody, and they said there was no damage in this area to the larynx or to the throat. I was like, "Oh, thank goodness gracious." Jimmy, that happened to me once when I was playing overseas. I went to block a shot, and I overslid. It was the start of a period. Usually somebody hits you in the midsection or they hit you in the legs. But the guy must have held up just a little bit, and I just slid a little, and he ripped it, and it got me in the side, like right here. And I was trying to get up, and I was like, "Damn, am I knocked out?" And I got up a little bit, then I went back down, and I was like, "Whoa, I hope I'm not bleeding." And you're like stunned.
yeah,
You really are when it hits you there because it's almost like you can't breathe.
yep.
And then I got up and I was okay. I played the rest of the game. But I remember, and when I saw that last night, I was like, okay, the only difference is he was standing up and the puck came up and got him.
Yep.
I was on the ice, and so I was actually at an advantage, I think, because I was already down.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of probably freaked them out a little bit.
Well, I'm glad he's okay, Pierre. And one more thing I want to bring up from last night. The Canadiens lost to Calgary. I know they lost. I know the fans are frustrated.
So am I from that one. I'm mad at that one too, Jimmy. I'm not going to
I'm
lie.
not too frustrated, but Pierre, I'm not. I'm being sunshine here. I saw some good things from that team last night. When I went back and watched that this morning, I liked some things I saw there, but I also saw an inexperience, an inability to maintain a lead, to maintain composure, and that's something they're going to have to work on.
So if you look at the tying goal by Matt Coronado, and if you look at the winning goal by Matt Coronado, they're both mistakes that are made on the defensive side of the puck.
Yep.
So Jake Evans and Caden Gooley don't communicate on the tying goal, so that's been haunting this team. The in zone coverage is not good enough, and it's got to be better. Those are two key. And then neutral zone faceoff to start overtime. Nick Suzuki can't lose a one-on-one battle there.
No,
he cannot. He cannot lose that. And Dvorak did his best to scramble the drive. Saw exactly what he was doing. There's no fault to him. But Nick Suzuki can't lose that battle. And by the way, Jimmy, I've been telling you about Coronado for how long? I was mortified when they sent him back down again. I'm like, they're going to break this kid. He's not an American League player. He's an NHL player. I watched him so much. I saw him so many great goals at Harvard. He's a really good player, and he's a phenomenal kid. He's coachable. He's tough as nails.
He feels the game, Pierre.
You see the shot that he shot to win the game?
Yep.
That's an elite goal scorer's play.
Yeah. They've got a keeper there. I remember when they sent him down, all people are starting to say, oh, maybe they'll trade him. You don't trade that.
Here's the thing salivating the New York Islanders. An Islander kid. He's an Island kid.
Yep.
Come on, bring him here. Bring him here. No way. I mean,
I'm sure one of his.
If they trade him, we're getting Craig Conroy on the show, and we're going to because there's no way.
I don't think Craig would do that, though.
No, that's what I'm saying. He wouldn't do that.
Yeah. So, I look at it here, like you said. I mean, these are learning games, and I know it's tough. How many learning games you're going to have? But those are mistakes that I don't think that team makes a year from now.
Here's what I know. I want to get a guy on that would fix this problem right now. Mike Keenan. Right. You get him on because I know Mike would fix this problem.
Let's ask Mike right now. I think we've got him, or he's in the green room right now. They're trying to connect him through, so we'll get him in a second.
I want him to come up with an opinion on how to fix in-zone coverage. He'll do it.
Yeah, and I want to talk to him just about the game today. How he handled that.
Everything. I'm only joking because I know I coached another.
No, he was telling me he was in. He has an Italian phone. He was in Italy for a bit, huh?
Well, he was coaching the Olympic national team.
That's right.
The Olympics are in Italy next year.
Yep. Good stuff. We'll get him on. We've got him coming through. Here he is right there, Mr. Mike Keenan, one of the best coaches ever to coach the show, joining us here on the eye test. There he is.
Pierre. I thought you were coming on the picture side. I thought you were just going to talk to us. You're getting smart.
Yeah. Looking great, Mike. How's everything?
Sometimes that happens in your old age.
He's a St. Lawrence man, Jimmy. That's the key. He's a St. Lawrence guy. He knows how to do stuff.
Yeah. Hey, you have to keep tricking the tricker.
Jimmy, this is awesome. I'm so happy he's here.
Yeah, welcome. We're so excited to have you here, Mike. Obviously, we wanted to bring you on to talk about one of your former players, Jeremy Roenick. But first off, why don't we just tell our listeners and viewers what you've been up to lately?
Well, I just released the book. It came out October the 1st. On a personal basis, I just went through open heart surgery and survived that. So I had some busy time this last 6 months. I returned. I was coaching in the national coach for Team Italy leading up to the Olympics, and then I had the setback in the health issue. And in fact, I'm in New York today, and we met with Gary Bettman and Bill Daly regarding with the federation, with the Italian Federation, to make sure that a lot of things are in order in terms of the participation of the NHL in the Olympics in 26.
I know you're heading to Toronto because Jeremy's going in and Colin Campbell, your old assistant's going in to the Hockey Hall of Fame. But when you go back to New York, Mike, it must be impossible not to think of your 94 team. It must be.
Well, we just had a celebration, Pierre, about a month ago here, and it was an incredible turnout. There was 2 days of autograph sessions, and then we had 2 days with the gang on 2 different golf courses and had some dinners and receptions together. So it was a lot of fun. And people here are pretty gracious. I was just standing on the corner yesterday, and a guy came up to me. He's from Montreal. He recognized me, started talking to me about hockey.
That's awesome.
But he lives in New York now. But it was the fans still remember here. Anywhere I go, they're still very gracious.
Well, you know what? Let's go to that moment right now, Mike. And I'm sure you remember as I was watching, trying to cut the clip here and send it to our production crew too. And I want you to tell the story after we watch this clip. What happened right before with that icing call? Because you must have been like, really? You're going to do this to us right now? But let's go to this call right now. It's one of the most famous in New York Rangers history and hockey history, I would say. Let's go.
This one will last a lifetime. No more curses. This is unbelievable. These people have waited a long time. Fans, players, coaches. Unbelievable.
So take us through those moments when you're waiting to get to that moment because of that icing call, Mike.
I didn't see the icing call, but I can recall it. And I said, that's ridiculous because
yeah, I saw you on the bench.
I think it was a missed call, but fortunately we were able to win that face-off. Yeah. And we had this experience against the Devils where we lost the face-off and they scored with 7 seconds, I believe it was, in the semifinal series. But Mac T took the face-off. Mess was in there to clean it up, and Larmer up front. So they had a plan, and they executed well against Pavel Bure. I think Mac T, all he did was cross-check him. Didn't even look down at the puck. So it had a successful ending for us for sure.
Jimmy, you know what Mike didn't talk about there is the rule changed after that, not long after, where you couldn't change off an icing, but back then you could. So it made a little bit. And so having coached enough against Mike, he was a master manipulator of the bench. He was really good at it. So when I was watching that, I was the head coach of Hartford at the time. I'm watching that going, there's Keenan back at work again, getting stuff done.
Yeah. Well, we had a backup plan there. Mess was the backup, pretty good backup plan. And I think that there was enough respect between Mac T and Mess. And Larms is a very experienced player. Right. A line that probably have never played together before that moment. But it worked out well for us.
What was it like? Just, there was obviously they hadn't won in so long, and just to be part of that and to give that city that moment. What was that like? What did that mean to you?
Well, the city at the time needed a boost. It was in a terrible state, the city overall. Mm-hmm. And I think it brought hope and belief to the city, which was really a neat thing to be a part of. And our players delivered in a very important part or time in history for New York City. So that's why they're so well respected today and remembered today. As I said, we had 2 days of autograph session. There was thousands of people show up. Wow. This is 30 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, they were lined up for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So it was, in line to get the autographs for 4 hours. They were there many hours before that.
Wow.
Just to get in position.
Mike, one of your greatest coups, I know Bob Pulford was a general manager at the time, but one of your greatest coups, I think, was drafting Jeremy Roenick, 8th overall in the 88 draft, a prep school player. That was kind of a foreign concept back then, Mike. You know that as well as I do. Drafting him 8th overall, letting him go to junior for 1 year, and then bringing him into Chicago. Can you take us through how that whole thing went down?
Yeah, that was a funny story. So we're at the draft, and as Pierre, you would know, and others that before the draft, you have a little dinner with your scouts or your members of your management team, and we're at a restaurant, and I go into the washroom, and I'm standing at the urinal, and I feel this tap on my shoulder, and I look around at this kid, and he says, "I'm Jeremy Roenick. You better draft me tomorrow." I said, "If you don't mind, can I just finish here, then we can have a chat?" So they happened to be in the same restaurant as we were, and the next day we did draft them. So we sent him off to play junior hockey. I know that he was in university for a couple of weeks. He says,
I went to Boston College for 2 days, and then he didn't want to work. So
he said, forget this. I want to be a pro hockey player immediately. So anyway, we had a number of injuries. He came up and never went back.
Yeah.
And
What
you know,
would you?
Jimmy,
Go
I
ahead.
got to cut you off, but I want Mike to refresh on this. Mike put them together with Michel Goulet and Steve Larmer. He just talked about Larmer in New York.
Mhm.
That line, Jimmy, I'm not kidding you. Like, I coached against him in the final in '92. That was the best line in the NHL. Mike will tell you, a lot of teams had good lines. That was the best line in the NHL. How'd you put that line together, Mike?
Well, it was really interesting, but we felt that Jeremy, and now we move ahead in time, and I'm now the general manager. I make the trade with Serge Savard for Chelios and Savard to send in Dennis to Montreal. But we felt, and I felt rather, that Jeremy was ready to be a number one centerman. And it was obvious who our two number one wingers were: left wing Michel Goulet and right winger Steve Larmer. But it was great conversation on the bench. It was those two guys mentored him shift by shift, particularly Michel with that dry sense of humor of his. Kid, listen. And they would set him up for the next shift. So it was humorous yet very, very important for Jeremy and educational for him to develop so quickly with two great wingers. I mean, Hall of Famer on left wing, and Steve Larmer should be in the Hall of Fame too, as well. So it's he had the good fortune. We had the good fortune that we had two special players and people to mentor our young superstar centerman, and it really accelerated his progress.
As Pierre was talking earlier before you came on, Coach, Jeremy was really the complete package. He had size, he had speed, he had skill, he had finesse. When you first saw him play, what was the first thing that struck you about him? Was there a certain aspect, or was it just kind of the whole package altogether?
Well, he had great speed. That was for sure. Like, he could move, and he wanted to learn. He wanted to learn and excel quickly. So he had an open mind, a very open mind, and receptive to ideas. But I pushed him very hard at times, and but he responded to it, and he got better along with his two wingers. The poor guy must have had a headache every night. My coach and the two wingers every night. He really had a skill set, had to learn to be a pro, how to be prepared every night to play, and particularly you're the number one centerman on a very good team. There's a lot expected of you, and you have to be prepared to take that responsibility and fulfill it. Particularly, the pressures. I got to give Jeremy a lot of credit. The pressure to replace Dennis Savard as the number one centerman. Now, Chelly was a big impact on him as well, and directed him in terms of coming together and accelerating his growth as a player. But the most important thing is he responded to it, and he wanted to be that number one guy. So that's important.
Mike,
he was capable of being that number one.
You've coached so many good players, Mike. The laundry list, the Hall of Fame players you've coached is amazing. It really is amazing. But one of the things that I know that you value is character and intensity. One of the things that stood out to me, I was just finishing up. I was about to go work for Pittsburgh, and I was watching your playoff game with St. Louis. And Glenn Featherstone cross-checked Roenick right in the mouth in front of your bench. I don't think he missed a shift, Mike.
No, he didn't even come off the ice.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
He spit his chiclets into the bench and said, "Boys, let's go." So
Jimmy, this is for our younger people that are watching this. To ask Coach what that means when you see a player do that. What does that mean?
Wow, that was incredible as a response in terms of, that's tough. You get your teeth knocked out. That's painful. And
I know.
he didn't even come off the ice. He just put his teeth into the bench and said, "Let's go, boys."
Yeah.
So, he's full of adrenaline at that time, but that he was on a mission, as the team was.
Yeah. That team, I mean, as Pierre said earlier before you came on, that was a sweep in that final, but those weren't blowout games. It wasn't like your typical sweep. And how good was that team? Is that team built up to that point? Could you see them getting to the final? Like, what about that team spoke to you?
Yeah, we had some experience. So we were in the Final Four. I was there. I coached 3 years. We were in the Final Four 3 or 4 years. We won the President's Trophy.
Yep.
And that took, and I made a lot of changes. But, we were backed by great goaltending, Eddie and Dominic. Mm-hmm. And then our team came together with experience, and the defense pairings like Smith and Chelios, and Krafchek was the first Russian to come in, and he just came in after the Olympics. He played with Brown, and then we had Marchman and some other
Frankie Kuchera.
Yeah, Kuchera. We had good depth, and we developed it. And we I don't know if you can remember, guys, but we were on a run. We had won something like 12 playoff games in a row or something to that effect. So we were playoff ready, but we faced a team that had incredible talent and a number of Hall of Famers on it. And the coaching staff with Scotty and Pierre and the rest, and Brassel in net, unbelievable. But it was a tight series. I mean, now you got the Hall of Famer, Yager, Francis, Strachey, Mario, of course, Murphy, Tocchet, on and on and on. So
murderers, role players. Jimmy, it was interesting, and Coach could speak to this. Michael Jordan was playing for the Chicago Bulls. Hockey was a bigger story in Chicago than the Chicago Bulls were. Coach, is that true?
Yeah, it was incredible. The city was on fire because, as I said, we were in the Final Four. But during that run with Michael, every other night that Chicago stadium was jam-packed. And after the games, you go downtown, there's like 100,000 people downtown Chicago partying. So and that old building, that old incredible Chicago stadium, to go in there, well, Pierre, you took your team. It was tough to win in that stadium against the Blackhawks after we got that train going. I mean, we were a hard team. We were one of the most penalized, if not the most penalized team. And we were physical and successful, but we had a lot of incredible competitors as well. I mean, we had great hockey players, but great people and competitors that, and with the nucleus that led, we had the Brent Sutter again. We acquired him. They had the Sutter brothers. So we had a lot of ingredients that you have to win.
Yeah, that was, and I remember those national anthems too, Mike. In that place.
Pierre, I think it was 16 steps to go up to the stadium level, and even remember taking in the Flyers the first time in there, and you didn't have to talk to your team about getting ready. They were getting ready just by the energy coming down, and as they walked up into that stadium, there was no need to have to give them any pep talks. You just make sure you're ready because you know what's coming at us.
Yep. Jimmy, I want to salute the coach too, because I don't think he ever gets enough credit. He coached Canadian college, he coached Memorial Cups in Major Junior.
Canada Cup.
Don't talk about this. Rochester Americans in 1983, Mike was the head coach of the Rochester Americans when they won the Calder Cup. Mike, you've won at every level. I don't think you've ever gotten enough credit. Plus the Canada Cups, I get it. I don't think you ever got enough credit for any of those things. I really don't.
Well, I had great teams, Pierre, as you know. You've been around successful teams. That means you have to have great players. So that's a big help.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I'm proud of the fact that I was able to help build teams with our coaching staff at various levels and win championships at various levels. And you know, they all Stanley Cup in New York, ultimate, but to coach in '87 against the Soviet Union with the Team Canada superstars, and you know, that was challenging, but incredibly blessed to have those types of players to put on the ice. And you know, I was a genius, and I cut about 10 Hall of Famers as well, but we had about 15 on the team. So it again, I was very fortunate to coach the best players in the world at that time.
One more question from me about JR, Coach. He obviously had a boisterous personality as well. With you being a hard edge coach, what was that like? You guys finding your balance there between player and coach?
He was really respectful. I was really firm with him. Mm-hmm. Would say hard with him, but as I said, he responded. But he wanted to be better, and when you're a young player and you're inexperienced, and now you've given that kind of responsibility to be the number one centerman, and now you're going with a very successful team. We played, in my tenure there, we played 60 playoff games in 4 years, the most of anybody in the league. Sure. So there's a lot of experience, and we had great success in regular season. But he had the personality, a very dynamic personality, fun personality. Yeah. He had to be guided many times, but his teammates did a good job with that, the veteran players. But he added a hell of a lot of energy to them as well. I mean, this kid was full of energy that he could get it. Like we just said, the example of him spitting his chiclets into the bench. So
right.
He came to play every night, regardless. So you have to give him credit for that and for the team. And he was a good teammate. Yeah, I agree. Michelle Goulet, hey kid. But he was a good teammate, a really good teammate.
Mike, before we let you go, I want to pass some regards on Rig Shearer, who's out in Arizona scouting now, said to say hello to you. He hopes you're feeling better. He'll see you at the Hall of Fame this weekend. Randy Sexton, another St. Lawrence guy, wanted me to say hello to you. And excellent. I'm going to say hello to you too, Mike, in Toronto this weekend.
Yeah, I'll see you guys there. I'm looking forward to. I've never been to a Hall of Fame function because I've always been working. In the last few years, I was 3 years in Russia, 2 in China, and 2 in Italy. So it's an interesting. Coley Campbell was very gracious enough to invite me to his dinner the night before, sharing our experience in New York. So I'm looking forward to it, Pierre, and I'll see you there.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you too, Mike. Thanks for doing this, Mike. You look fantastic. I'm happy for you. You look
great. We'll send it out. We're going to send it out with Jeremy Roenick doing his Dennis imitation here. So there you go, buddy.
Excellent.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Mike. Thank
Talk
you.
to you guys.
Jeremy Roenick. He too brings to mind someone of similar kind.
Great play by Steve Larmer to fend off a checker and then clear it to center. Here comes Roenick. One man to beat. Roenick in on Gdynia. A spinorama. He's around him. He's in. He scores! Jeremy Roenick! A great move as he turned the Soviet defenseman inside out.
Jeremy Roenick taking a page out of Dennis Savard.
There you go. He had some moves. He was something else, Pierre.
He had amazing moves. Jeremy was amazing.
Yeah,
really, like crazy how good he was. Do you know who the color man? Do you know who the color man was in that game?
No.
Dale Talon.
Oh, really? Wow. He went on to be a GM there.
He was a GM in Chicago, GM in Florida, and now he's up. I think he's consulting with Vancouver.
I always felt like Dale didn't get enough credit for helping to put together that Chicago dynasty, Pierre.
He did. I mean, Stan Bowman did for sure, 100%. They both did.
Yeah,
for sure. Hey, you know what? You know the Barkov guy that's in Florida?
Exactly. Well, we got to get him on someday. I've always been a big fan of his.
Pierre, you know what? We got to get Dale on. He's such a gentleman. Dale's an amazing guy.
Yeah, he's great.
For years and years and years, when Chicago was struggling before Mike got there, and they were struggling, Jimmy, trust me. Dale made it fun to listen to the games and to watch the games. He and Pat Foley were a tremendous stand-up. They were really, really good.
You know what I forgot to ask the coach there, but I'll ask you, Pierre, because you've had the experience as well. What is it like for a coach to see a former player go in the Hockey Hall of Fame? What does that mean to you?
I've been so blessed. You know, the next one I'll have a chance to watch will be Yarmer at some point. But I've been so blessed. You know, just recently we had Tommy Barrasso go in. Before that, Mark, obviously, Recchi, and Paul and Larry, Mario. It's not something that gets old, Jimmy. You know, it's just the Hockey Hall of Fame is an amazing thing, and I know, you know, some people are be jaded and say, "Oh, well, you only say that because you're part of the committee."
I can say you said it for a long time. I'll vouch for that.
Every single day that I walk into the hall or around it, or when I'm traveling there, I got to pinch myself because you just don't. When you're there, you're like, "Wow, this is amazing," and then you look at the presentation that the hall's created. Yeah. It's an amazing thing, Jimmy.
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame is unbelievable. It really is.
Yeah. I've been to 2 inductions, Bork and Neely. And it's something else. It's you can't really put it in. You got to go there. You got to understand what Pierre is saying around. You got to go there and just feel it. I highly urge everyone to do it. And I want to give a shout out to Pierre, to our good friend Kelly Massey, who does a great job with the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Amazing. She's so
always
good.
A pleasure to deal with. Helps you any way she can. So I hope she has a great weekend as well.
Oh, I'm glad you brought Kelly's name up because I can't say too much, but I do some different things sometimes with the presentations that I make, and Kelly has to help me. I'm not as adept as I should be at doing them. She's fantastic. She's such a nice woman. She's an amazing woman. She really is.
Yep. So, and good for Mike that he's going to be there this weekend after what he's been through the last month. Jesus.
Well, we were talking yesterday when I was trying to get him on, and I had known about his health scare, and I didn't want to bother him too much. And he said, "No, I'm actually going up to the Hall of Fame." I said, "Perfect, I'll see you up there," and I can't wait to see you. So,
yeah, and he beat cancer too, didn't he?
Yeah,
he's good for him. That's why they call him Iron Mike. All right, let's get over to Betway right now. Actually, before we do Betway, guys, let's talk one thing. I gotta tee up our next 2 guests that we're gonna have on for the rest of the week, Pierre, and one of them is Friendship 4 connected. But first, tomorrow, before we get to On Campus Friday, we are going to welcome on another Hall of Famer, Mr. Ken Holland, joining us here on the Eye Test. He's going to talk to us about one of his former players, Pavel Datsyuk, who he was very instrumental in drafting and bringing to Detroit, getting inducted into the Hall of Fame this weekend. So really looking forward to talking to Ken Holland tomorrow. So thanks to Pierre for setting that up. And then on Friday, we're going to have Scott Borick, the men's hockey coach for Merrimack College. Merrimack is one of the 4 schools going over to Friendship 4. So we'll talk about that, talk about his season and how the Merrimack team is doing. So really looking forward to that for On Campus Friday, Pierre.
Scotty's a really good coach, by the way, Scotty Borick. He's coaching a lot of different places. He's really changed the dynamic at Merrimack. They play in that, Murderers Row Hockey East. It's just every game is a game 7. It's unbelievable how competitive the league is. And no, I'm really looking forward to talking with Scotty. He's done a fantastic job up there at Merrimack, and obviously Kenny. I can't say enough good things about Kenny. I spent a lot of time on the road with Kenny over the years.
He should be in the Hall of Fame just for drafting Datsyuk where he drafted him.
Well, it's not just that.
That's a lesson in scouting.
Think about all the guys, like, Thomas Holmes. Go look at all the guys. Johan Franz and Henrik Zetterberg. You look at all the Euros. Now, Håkan Andersson is a big part of their scouting staff in Detroit. He lives overseas. But Kenny had to go cross-check, or Nick Polino had to go had to go cross-check. So there's so many people involved. But Kenny was a guy that had to sign off on all these.
What a great hockey mind. I'm looking forward to
all those years, how good they were. Kenny, Jimmy Devellano, and Scotty Bowman. Made a difference. They called them the 3-headed monster, and they really were.
It was something they put together. Listen, we want to remind everybody, though, the last week in November, we will be in Dublin first and then Belfast for the Friendship 4, broadcasting live from there. As of now, we do not know our Dublin location.
We're very, very close on that.
Awesome.
As you're asking me that, I'm looking at my phone, and we're very close.
Great minds. There we go. And anyhow, we will be at the Harp, though, in Belfast on that Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So if you're heading over there or you're listening to us or watching us from Ireland or the UK, Northern Ireland, come up and say hi. Would love to meet you. We appreciate you listening to the show. So let's go over to Betway right now. As we remind you every day, they are the leading global online betting and gaming brand. Follow your gut instinct. Go with Betway. You can sign up right there with the QR code right in front of you if you're watching right now on YouTube, or you can go to the website. And remember, when you sign up, you must be 18 plus and always bet responsibly. Pierre, my parlay went 2 for 3. The Canadiens don't blow that lead, I win it. They were the only loss on that 3-team parlay last night, but hey, it is what it is. We're going to move along to tonight, and I'm going to go to what I consider the marquee game. I mean, the big national network one here in the States is the Red Wings and Blackhawks. And yeah, true, it's always been a great rivalry, but it's not what it used to be. The big one, of course, and now with Connor McDavid coming back, is the Edmonton Oilers hosting the Golden Knights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern tonight. I'm going to go with a draw in this game. I see a real battle. I think this is going to be a good one. Playoff feel to it. I think it's headed to overtime. So you can go to there right now to Betway and take the draw. All right, let's get to the Q&A. What do we got? All right, Ron LaRoque. And by the way, remind me, Pierre, Ron sent a nice message. I'm going to pass it along to you later. I appreciate it, Ron. I don't know why, but I checked Winnipeg last night. Why only 12,935 fans there? Are they in trouble again? I understand it was a weekday game, but where is the support?
Well, I don't want to say they're in trouble. I know ownership there. Mark Chipman's a friend of mine. It's a tough situation. I think, there's financial issues in the province and in the city in particular. They've tried to become an area team, which they've done a really good job. So Eastern Saskatchewan, Northwestern Ontario, Northern North Dakota, and Northern Minnesota. And when they're playing weeknight games, it's tough. They're better, obviously, when they're playing on the weekend. So people can come in and make a weekend out of it. So that makes it a little bit difficult for them. But they're playing a tremendous brand of hockey, Ron. I would agree with you. They shut out Utah last night 3-0. But the attendance is what it is. But they're lucky. They've got Mr. Thompson, who's a tremendously wealthy man, and obviously Mr. Chipman, who's a very successful person too. So I don't think ownership's a problem there. I don't see that.
No, I don't. And they've got a dedicated fan base, but I'm with Pierre. It's the price. It's the way things are. And that's across the board in the NHL right now. It's something we're going to have to watch going forward. All right, next question. Randy Workman, with the debacle, Coronado goal in overtime, what does Marty say to Suzuki to make sure that does not happen again?
Well, we had a perfect guy on before. He would have ripped into it pretty good.
I saw that before, Randy. Sorry.
But I wouldn't have been very happy. Now, there's a couple ways you could do it. I would have done it the first way. It's not the right way. You just let him have it in the room. The second way is you cool off, and today you bring him into the office and you don't embarrass him in front of his teammates, and you show him the tape. And you say, this is what you could do differently, and we need you to make sure this never happens again.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of different ways. I think when I was younger, I would have gone nuts on him. Now that I'm more seasoned and more experienced, I think the second way would have probably been better with him.
All right. Next question. Sound the siren. Jimmy and Pierre. Canes are rolling, but Kochetkov not that great last night. Couple periods with some softies. I know it happens, but goaltending is not a strong suit for them. Pierre and I have been sounding that siren, so to speak, pun intended, for a long time. It's always been an Achilles heel for that team, Pierre. I mean, I know they had a little run with Anderson, and Cam Ward obviously was the one time where it really worked. But yeah, I'm with them. It seems to be a constant there.
Yeah, there's no question. And they're getting a lot of good hockey out of a lot of players. I mean, Jack Drew's playing fantastically well.
Yep.
Jackson Blake, who we were told by members of the media there will not play. And I'm like, oh, yeah, Jimmy, he's going to play. And he is. Remember that, Jimmy?
Yep, I remember. Covered his dad, too, so I feel old.
Yeah. So Jackson's doing great. And Marty Necas, I can't say enough about what he's doing.
To me, he's one of the greatest stories right now in the NHL, Pierre, because There was so much trade stuff circling around him.
He ain't Kaprizov for the two.
You know, and he's answered the bell. Like, I don't know what they said to him. I haven't seen all the details, if they had a heart-to-heart with him in the offseason or whatever. But he has really answered the bell there in Carolina, and they need him to. The key player.
You know what? They're going to be good. We talked about this. They're going to be a referendum on analytics. So here's the thing, and this is why I'm saying that. The reason why they're going to be a playoff team. We all know that. It's, do they get to the conference final? Do they win around and peter out, which is what they kind of do? Or do they get to the final and win? And I think anything less than getting to the Eastern final for that team is a black mark on analytics. If they do it and they go past it, it's huge for them.
Yeah.
It's huge. So they've got time to address the goaltending, this is what I'm saying. And that's what I think they're probably going to do. If they don't find that they're getting enough reliable goaltending, they're going to have to fix it.
All right, next question. Renaissance Resistor. Hey, guys, just wondering what's going on with Farrell. That's Sean Farrell, by the way, Canadiens this year. Also, do you think Hughes could be Connor Hughes, that is, could be another Tim Thomas? His numbers this year are unreal. Thank you.
These are two awesome questions. So Sean hasn't gotten any points yet in Laval. He was playing on the first line on Saturday, did not play on the first line on Friday. They're clearly trying to get him going. For whatever reasons, nothing seemed to be working right now. I talked with his father over the weekend, and it was Sean's birthday. They were up from Boston to go watch Sean play, and his father and mother. And they say Sean's been great. Confidence isn't an issue. You know, he's willing to work through this. He's going to work through this. He's never gone through anything like this in his life, which is true if you go check his career numbers. So I think eventually he'll be okay. I don't know if it ends up being something for Montreal or not, just because of all the small guys they had. I just don't know how it plays out there. You know, so that's something. In terms of Connor Hughes, I don't know why not.
That's a good analogy.
I was so impressed by him. So impressed by him the other day. He played 2 games that I watched, and I'm telling you, he was really good. Really good.
And that is true. Tim Thomas did the same thing. Went over to Europe, came back, paid his dues, and made it. All right, next question. Ron LaRoque. What's up, Ron? It looks like Mark Bureau fixed the face-off circle for the Canadiens, eh?
Ronnie, I've been pushing this for a long time. I mean, when I interviewed for the job in Montreal, one of the things I told them is there are a lot of former Canadians I'd like to come in and have work with our players. And, you know, I didn't talk about Mark in particular, but I talked about the potential for face-off guys. Carbonneau was obviously one of those guys. Talked about, you know, somebody that I really like and respect a lot, Chris Nyland, being around to help our guys. I wanted not only ambassadors, but guys that wouldn't be afraid to hang around the dressing room and talk to the players. You know, I saw it in New York. Rod Gilbert was around a lot, and I really respected that. When I can tell you, Chuck Caden, who's our special friend, Chuck tells me all the time how Gordie Howe, when he was around in Hartford, he'd come into the room, and when I go visit Scotty in Detroit, I'd see Ted Lindsay around, I'd see Gordie Howe around, you know, like guys that they're larger than life. Why wouldn't you want those guys around?
Yeah.
So I think that's good that Montreal actually did that. I really like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, they've always been good at that. So I love how they always include the alumni. All right, next question. Randy Workman. Sorry about that, Jimmy. Flames game. Not sorry. Do you both feel it's all right? Do you both feel American Thanksgiving is a point beyond return for teams who are struggling? Yeah, it's pretty much that's the check mark. That's the benchmark. For sure.
There are very few teams that can be in the playoffs after the All-Star game if they're double-digit points out. So you still have some wiggle room. But one team that won the Cup in 2019 is St. Louis. They were in last place on January the 1st, and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. But here's the one that is almost foolproof. I think there's only been 3 teams since 2005 that have been double-digit points out of a playoff spot at the All-Star break and eventually win the playoffs. Only 3.
Wow.
But that's a long time. That's 20 years. So that's kind of my Mendoza line. If you're double digits out come the All-Star break weekend, you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah. One thing I will say, Randy, is that I do think we're going to start to see some teams make some moves to fix what ails them, whether that's coaching or players. I see something coming up in December. All right, next question.
Totally agree.
Pizza 603. Hi, gents. I like swapping Kapanen for Condotta to get a true fourth line type, and Cap can't get top line minutes and develop, or can get top line minutes and develop. But when will we see War again?
Well, I like Kondata coming up too. I said to Mitch Melnick the other day on the show that I thought he was one of the guys who could come up and play. I was glad the Canadiens feel the same way.
UMass Lowell, Pierre?
He is a UMass Lowell. Yep. 4 years there, free agent. He's big, he's heavy, he's good on faceoffs, he can kill penalties. He's not going to give you a ton of offense, but he can skate for a bigger guy. So he's not going to be overwhelmed in an NHL game. With Roy, he's an NHL player. He's an NHL goal scorer. I just think they want him to really evolve and develop in a winning atmosphere down there.
Yeah.
Their next 5 games, Jimmy, are on the road. They play 2 in Belleville, then they go into Rochester, then they go to Syracuse, and then they come back to Rochester, and then they go home. That's a tough grind. That's a tough trip.
All right, we'll see what happens. That goaltending has been something for them. All right, next question. I think this is the last one. Chris Blue Shirts. Hey, guys. Excellent interview with Iron Mike. Thank you. The last Rangers coach to win it. My favorite JR moment, though, was when he cried on the panel. I was thinking of it too, Chris. When he cried on the panel after the Hawks won the Cup in 2010. What are your best JR moments? That would be one of them for sure, Chris. I was thinking about the whole interview with Mike there. And I just say, like, that run to the final until they met Mr. McGuire here in the Pittsburgh Penguins. That was an amazing run. That was fun to watch. I'm glad Mike brought up and pointed out to me too, because they had been sort of knocking on the door for a while there. So it was one of those teams, Pierre, at that time, you're just kind of waiting to bust through. So I'd say that whole playoff run in general, just watching Roenick take them through that was something else.
I have so many good JR moments, whether it was working with him on TV, working with him on the ice when he was a young kid in Boston, coaching against him. JR's like a loyal friend. He's a really good friend. Yeah. Mike said that he was a really good teammate. His teammates really adored him, and I would agree with that. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anybody at NBC that didn't like him, that worked with him. I'll tell you that right now. He was a really good teammate. Favorite one, it's hard to say. Hard to say with JR. I saw him once wrestle an alligator. Here's a beauty.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to say. All I'm going to tell you, as good a hockey player as Jeremy was, he's as good a golfer. Jeremy is a heck of a golfer.
He got to do a lot of that when he played for the Coyotes, I bet. So. Yeah. But I got to say, speaking of that, Pierre, I remember when he was there, he tried, from what I saw from afar and read in the papers and saw in the news, he tried so hard to build that there. And, I don't think he gets enough credit for that. He was one of those players who tried to connect with the fans and really make it work.
He and Keith Kachuk were really good at that.
Exactly.
Teppo Numminen was another one. I used to go in there and watch, and see, hey, this guy's milking.
Yeah, it's pretty good teams.
They did.
Yeah.
Forget that. The guys that the initial group that went down from Winnipeg, Winnipeg wasn't an easy out.
No.
It was hard to go into Winnipeg in the old Winnipeg arena and play.
Yep.
That's the thing. I wish I would have. I'll talk to Mike about it this weekend, but it was more for the listeners and the viewers. Those old buildings, Jimmy, people were on top of you. They were really different. I don't think I ever told you a story, Jimmy. I was coaching a game in Boston in the old garden, and our trainer's name was Bud Gavea. And I said, hey, Bud, did I get stung by a bee or something? Because they're like,
I remember. I don't think you said it here, but I remember it. Yeah.
And I was like, damn, it's hurting me too. Like, did I get stung? And he goes, no, somebody dropped a coin down your shirt. I don't know how they did it, because the second deck, and they dropped it down and went right down my shirt. It didn't heat it up. So it was burning my skin. I was like, geez, Louise, man. I was over there, and he must have been like ripped up my shirt and pulled it out. But I was like, damn, it was hurting me.
Only in the old buildings, eh? Could you pull that stuff?
The odd in Buffalo was another one.
Oh, yeah.
Mike talked about the stadium in Chicago. I remember before Game 3 of the '92 final, our bench was shaking. and they hadn't even started the anthem yet. It was just the crowd. Wow. 23. That building held for hockey 23,000 people, and they were on top of you, Jim.
Right on top of you.
They were right on top of you, and it was so loud. And the floor on the bench was shaking. I'm not kidding. It was surreal. I had never, you coach a lot of big games in your life, and you go to Madison Square Garden, you go to the Forum in Montreal, the Gardens in Toronto back in the day, old Boston Garden. You go to all these buildings. The old Forum in LA, Northlands in Edmonton, Pacific Coliseum in Vancouver. They were all old buildings. I mean, the Met Center in Bloomington.
But they were
nothing was a Chicago Stadium for noise.
Yeah.
None of them. None of them, Jimmy.
Pierre, it almost seemed from afar it had that Coliseum feel, like you were a gladiator coming into a Coliseum.
Do you know the crazy part of? You can go look this up. They played professional NFL football games in there.
What?
Yes, they did.
Okay. I'm going to look
They
that up.
did, I'm telling you.
Wow.
They played professional NFL football game. Now, this is way back. We're talking back in the 30s, maybe even the 40s. But they played professional football games in that building.
Good stuff. We got 2 more questions, actually, Pierre. We'll take them quick.
Right.
What do we got?
I love it.
GB, question. What would Mike's coaching style, or how would Mike's coaching style work in today's hockey? I was wondering the same thing.
Mike adjusted. I don't think I understand how people think that because they call Meyer Mike, but Mike really adjusted. I remember doing a game. I was with them. They were playing in Dallas, and I asked him if I could ride on his charter back to Calgary. He was coaching Calgary at the time, and he said absolutely. And because I was doing a Calgary Edmonton game 2 days later, so he said jump on with us, Pierre. So I took the charter from Dallas to Calgary, and they had a tough loss that game. And I was expecting him to have a meltdown either on the bus or on the plane, because sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
For all of us, not just Mike, but for all of us. And he was going up and patting guys in the back and saying, want to think about this, want to think about that. Jerome McGinley was on that team. Craig Conroy was on that team. Like that, they could tell you. Mike changed over time. I would say this. When we were coaching against each other in the early 90s, he wasn't so much like that. He wasn't okay. And I probably wasn't either. And neither was Scotty, and neither was Al Arbor. It wasn't like that. Neither was Brian Sutter. It's just guys weren't like that. It was different.
What it sounded like, though, is there any? I think there's one more question, and I'll say what I'm going to say. Do we have one more? I think we're good. Oh, there we go. Ron LaRoque. Why are people in a hurry to get young guys in the NHL, especially Montreal? I don't get it. I think it's now I may be way off on this, Pierre, but I think it's the new generation, the younger generation of fans, and that the fans obviously connect better to the younger players. And when they see someone close to them in age or equal age, they want to see them. They get excited. They want to see them out there. I don't know. But I noticed it here in Boston, too. I mean, the second the Bruins, like a guy in Providence scores a goal, get him up, call him up, get this veteran out of here, call him up. I'm like, patience. You got to develop these guys. But it's true. And there's a real urgency amongst fan bases right now to rush kids. And I'm glad the coaches and management aren't always giving into it.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. Because it was really, that's the voice of reason right there. That's well said by you, Jimmy. Here's one thing, too. Everybody wants a nice, new, shining object. They all want the new toy. Yep. Everybody does. I get it. I totally get it. We're all humans. We get it. We all want the next best thing. Everybody loves a backup quarterback till a backup quarterback goes in and throws an interception.
Exactly.
Everybody wants the 18-year-old superstar in the lineup till he has a turnover, gives up a 2-on-1, and you lose in the last 3 seconds of regulation. That's just how it works. But I think one of the things for Montreal fans, you're in it. You're in the most difficult part of it right now. You've lost 8 out of 9. But look at your prospects and look at how well they're doing. Yeah. That's how I would look at it and think, okay, we just got a little bit more pain left. Not a lot, just a little bit more pain left, and then it's gonna be good. Celebrate the victories. Don't overhype the losses, but know that the cavalry's coming. There's a lot of good stuff coming.
And you know what I was thinking is somebody asked about Suzuki earlier, and I've been thinking about this recently, Pierre. This is a good learning experience for him as a leader. Yep. What they're going through to kind of help learn how to navigate his teammates through this, because he's going to have to. If he's going to be a captain, this is part of his job. And I think sometimes losses can be great down the road in a situation like you're in Montreal.
That's a really smart comment. I like that a lot. Here's my only thing, and I don't want to be Debbie Downer.
That's okay.
Bob with negativity. I know how good Kirby Dach can be.
Mm-hmm.
Kirby Dach knows how good he can be. He's not going to be great as a winger. That's not why they got him there.
No.
Kirby Dach is going to have to grind on him and get him back and get him going, and he's going to have to be that stalwart number 2 centerman.
Yep.
You know, if I were them, I'm telling you right now, I'd say, this is Pittsburgh. This is Mario Lemieux. This is Pittsburgh. This is Ron Francis. You're going to be Ron Francis. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't think he'll ever be as good as Ron Francis.
Right.
But that's how he has to play.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why we won so much.
And he can do it.
66 was great, but 10 was unbelievable.
Yep.
Francis, I'm just telling you, nobody. And then you throw 19 out there, Trache, and you're like, okay, thanks for coming.
Okay.
You know? we win. Bye.
I hear you, my friend. All right. Well, great show there. Thank you to Mike Keenan for joining us. That was amazing.
It was great. I can't wait to see him.
Please thank him in person for me, Pierre, when you see him in Toronto Hall. And really jealous of you that you're going up there. When are you leaving, Pierre? Tomorrow night?
No, I've got some college hockey to watch this weekend. Providence, Northeastern, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, that's right. My bad.
And then I'm heading up Sunday morning. I'll meet our good friend Chuck Keaton in there, and I think Mr. Bowman might be making an appearance. And we'll try to get Keenan to join us for a little hot stove action.
That'll be fun. Enjoy it. And say hi if you see Mr. Michel Goulet up there too. Say hi to him as well. If you make it, tell him I'm thinking of it. Yep. All right. So thanks to Mike Keenan for joining us. Thanks to the production crew up in Montreal. Thanks to you, Pierre. And remember, tomorrow we've got 4-time Stanley Cup champion Kenny Holland joining us here to talk about new Hall of Famer Pavel Datsyuk on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm Jimmy Murphy. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.